Well, I think one thing we recognized after internal debates and also strategy sessions is that in the past we have so focused on technology development and innovation, we didn't put enough emphasis on the customer need and demand. We always think about, okay, this is the best technology, customer must love it, but we think as long as leading technology, we need to put it in our car. With that, I think we actually learned some lessons because some of the features were not accepted, because they're expensive. Some features takes a long time to get used to. So it actually makes our product less easy to decide on because of these new features. So that's one area that we think we want to change with our new product line, is to make sure that we really focus on the customer needs to drive the innovation rather than use innovation to drive customer needs, which is very difficult. And secondly is that actually the way that we have launched products in the past has incorporated a lot of options. So we say, oh, you can choose to add this function, you can choose to add that function. It makes the customer's decision-making process a lot more difficult.
Too many.
And too many. It's a manual.
Right.
Even our sales guys couldn't remember. There are various differences, and we think that actually led to some of the sales attrition because it's the sheer complexity of our product offering. So we actually are trying to reduce the SKUs of our products. So all the new launches, we really focus on to reduce the customer choices. So they don't need to, think hard about, okay, do I need to select this and that and make and this has actually also caused a lot of inefficiency in logistics, in delivery, in marketing. So by simplifying that and make it easy for our customers to decide, I think also it will help us, grow our sales. So those are the changes. Even though you think it's intuitive, but I think it really actually transforming the way that we do business today. Because the reason you do that is you feel like, oh, if I offer enough choices, I can capture the bigger audience. But that's not the case because you actually put off the mainstream buyers probably feel like this is too complicated.
Right. I'm curious what features you found that you really thought that customers were going to love, but customers didn't quite take to it. Are there features that you decided to eliminate because you realized that customers weren't adapting or weren't embracing it the way you thought that your engineers sort of thought they would, or designers thought they would?
If you're looking back, one of the things that, for example, our second product is hugely successful is P7, right? It's a sports sedan, beautiful. It also sells at a premium price point, and then after P7, we launched actually a lower priced family sedan, which is called P5. It's smaller, but it was more room. But even though it's a lower price point, because we always want to have the best technology in the vehicle, we made that car has LiDAR in there. It was probably even more sophisticated autonomous driving capabilities. Make the pricing even more difficult to price for a lower, smaller vehicle. So that is an example, is that even though we feel like technology-wise it's more advanced, but the product it positions is actually a lower priced, smaller sedan versus the P7. So that creates a conflict. People buying P5 will say, well, it's too expensive, if you have all these gadgets, because your position this is a family sedan. And then the P7 buyers will say, oh, why don't I have the more advanced version, because I'm paying for a longer, bigger, and premium vehicle. So the mismatch of your technology and your model makes the marketing and positioning challenging.
Right, I see. You talked about the very crowded market in the China EV space. I want to talk a little bit about that. And there seems to be sort of a price war underway. Prices coming down. You've cut your prices a bit earlier this year. What do you make of that? I guess, how do you move? Is there any going back? I mean, once you cut a price, customers become accustomed to it. And how do you move forward once you do that?
Well, I think the price pressure come from a number of areas. Some of those actually are sheer competitive. Some of those are industry-wide. For example, some of the recent price pressure come from ICEs. They are faced with more demanding emission standard. They had to get rid of the older versions, so they're heavily discounting their current models. That I view that as a temporary act because they don't have the ability to do that continuously. So there's, I think more of a one-time event. But other events also reflective the cost decrease that we're seeing. We're passing it on to our customers. Because I think as a volume player, you need to really focus on competitive cost. In last year, one of the things I talked about is the increased battery cost. But this year, you are seeing the reverse. The battery price is coming down very rapidly. That's a large component of a EV cost base. So that will give you the ability to compete on price again. So I think there is certain event you have to just like the ICE example, you have to let it pass. It's just a one-time industry cloud need to digest through. And others is you need to really anticipate the cost changes of your product by taking advantage of the battery cost coming down, using technology to reduce, for example, what we call the smartification cost. The chips, the sensors, the layout, that can be simplified with more powerful algorithm and better software. All these can actually contribute to a cost advantage. So I think as a scale and technology player, you need to focus on these two areas in order to be more competitive. And I think that is going to be the challenge faced with all the players. But I think ultimately the product has the most differentiation and the best competitive costs as a combination will win out, not just one of them.
When the price comes down, you want these EVs to be more accessible to people just from like an emissions standpoint. Do you see it that way?
Absolutely, because the first time Tesla lowered their prices, is in 2020 when we actually in the process of US IPO. I remember in the summer of 2020, Tesla started to lower prices at 3 consecutive times. And I think people worried about price reduction by Tesla will make our lives more difficult. But what happened was actually completely the opposite. Our product is even much better selling because the EV market expanded more rapidly. Because the more affordable, technology-driven Tesla products are becoming, eye-catching products and become mainstreams.
I am curious how you view the just consumer relationship with EVs now versus maybe when you joined. What are the conversations? How have the conversations you're having with customers changed over time? I mean, I feel like 5 years ago, maybe you were just introducing them to the concept of an EV. What are you talking about now?
I think 5 years ago, you need to convince customers that EV is safe because they always hear about fire and safety issues, and convenient because there's not a lot of charging facilities. It's also a niche product because they don't know friends and family driving it. It's almost like you're making decision on a very niche product. That's 5 years ago. So you have to really explain why you need to play. And then the industry policy plays a big role because the subsidy but fast forward 5 years today, I think first of all, EV become a mainstream product. People will not question you to buy an EV because this, like, their friends are buying it, their families buying it, they're thinking about it. They see this as a very easy decision to make. They're not worried about safety, but they're asking about the design, the features, the reliability, the service quality. So I think people start to ask more of the mainstream questions that typically asked on the IC products. Is this product retain value? Does this product have the technology appointment that I like? And also people will focus on smart features that is not available on IC products. I think that's a new trend because electrification is already at a stage, I would say, it's becoming mainstream. I think the next wave is what even more excites me is people are starting to demanding more differentiated technology, smart driving, what we call the full scenarios, autonomous driving capabilities that car can give you that really changes the way you drive every day. Right now, again, it's only 2%. I think the vehicles has that capability on the road. But maybe in 2-3 years, that will become 20-30%.